Alright, welcome back. Today we are going to talk about, will virtual reality replace television? And the answer is complicated. Yeah, the answer is yes, but it'll take time. I mean, in 2014, nobody owned a VR headset. It was the very first VR headset ever came out. It was the Oculus developer kit, and it was the first one ever in 2014. Okay, and it's now 2021. Happy New Year! And there's almost 200 million headsets that are out there. So we went from 0 to 200 million in 4 years. So what does that tell you? That tells you that over time, from 0 to 200 million in 4 years time, it's exploding. Now these are just the early adopters, the people that are like, oh, VR, it's cool, let's check it out. I mean, back in the day. Right now, Oculus came out, and in 1 year after launching Quest, in 1 year, the Oculus store made over $100 million in VR content sales. There's only like 42 titles on the market, and over 20% of them are $1 million earners. Oculus is making a ton of money, but the reason is because everyone is buying this headset because it's the best. Right now, everyone always asks me, what virtual reality headset should I buy right now? And the answer is the Oculus Quest. If you're buying it right now, this is hands down. You open the box, it works right out of the box. You can take it to your friend's house, you can take it anywhere. You can be fully immersive, 6 degrees of freedom. People always ask, oh, well, does VR make you nauseous or whatever? It did back in the day, but with the current frame rates and everything, the average person will spend like an hour in their session. I mean, if you look at the top selling games, each one is over an hour of gameplay. It's like a requirement because people, when they want to use their headset, they want to be involved in it. So any given session for most consumers is like an hour sit down in their headset. So and they do it together. I mean, my friend Ray was telling me with the pandemic, he couldn't go to bars and stuff, so he calls his friends and they do virtual mini golf instead of going to the bar. So these are guys who, just like average guys who would go to the bar, but they dabble, they're interested, so they each own a headset, and now they play mini golf on Saturday night together in their headsets at home. So this is the kind of thing that is enriching a lot of people's lives, and it's right on the up and up. In 1927, the first ever TV came out. Okay, so this is the will virtual reality replace television? So in 2027, you had the first TV come out as this big TV with a tiny screen on it. And everyone looked at this thing and they were like, why do we need this? Who wants to sit there and like, what the hell, like what's the point of it? People bash it. They're like, oh, well, there's no point in TV. Who needs TV? Whatever, right? It's now 2021. Billions of TVs around the world. Okay, it went from this giant thing to essentially these big flat screen. You basically wallpaper. You roll it onto your screen, onto your wall. Roll it onto your wall, and you have a TV. And there are thousands and bajillion channels you can watch and consume, and people are advertising on it, right? And everybody has multiple TVs in their home, which if you watch Back to the Future, they think that was like crazy that anyone would have even more than one TV. But it's no different with any technology. The iPhone, when the iPhone first came out, it was like one person in every friend group had it. And the only apps available were like the 4 apps that shipped with the iPhone, right? And now, it's 2021, and there's billions of iPhones with all these apps on the App Store, right? It grows over time. But luckily, we're not in 1927 anymore, right? We're in 2021, and things skyrocket so much faster. That's why in only 4 years, we went from 0 headsets to 200 million, okay? And a lot of you are going to argue like, oh, Mike, it's not really 200 million, blah, 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 blah. And yes, realistically, if you actually look at the hard data, even with the COVID pandemic, At the end of 2021, we're looking at like 98.4 million headsets. They were anticipating it would be 200 million, and we only got to 98.4 million. But that's still a huge jump from 0 4 years ago, right? And it's just going up and up. All of these data reports that all say the 98.4 million or whatever are projecting over 200 million in 2025, okay? It's not going anywhere, it's just entering the ecosystem. Just more people are getting exposed, more people are buying it, more people are able to play mini golf together, right? This is a gradual process. So the question, will virtual reality replace television? It will one day. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's never going to replace television, because television, it's like saying, will television replace books? No, people read books all the time, right? If you want to read a book, you can go get a book, you can download a book, people read books still to today. It's 2021 and the TV came out in 1927. Did TV replace books? Right? You see what I'm saying? I mean, like, if you were to ask somebody in 2027, oh, will this device replace books? Right? It's almost like the wrong question to ask, right? When you think about that in 1927, oh, will TV replace books? Right? But that's what's happening now when people say, oh, will virtual reality replace television? Right? It's going to add something into this world, right? The ability to look everywhere. I mean, look, right now, granted, it's 2021. We're doing a lot better than that giant TV with the little screen. This thing is very convenient. It's very comfortable on your head. You can wear it for hours. Like I said, people spend hours playing in this thing, okay? They put it on and it's fine. They're comfortable, you know? They're not sick. They enjoy it, right? After you have it on for like a good 5 minutes or so, you forget it's even on. You're just immersed in the engaging virtual environment. You know, it's the kind of thing you do have to try. And if you try something short that's only like a 3-minute long video clip or something, yeah, the whole time you're gonna be like, oh, I have this headset on, it's uncomfortable. But that's why you have to invest in it. You have to put the headset on and interact with something that's engaging you for longer than like 5 minutes. And then you're gonna see it and you're gonna be like, yeah, man, this thing could definitely, you know, replace television, right? So at the end of the day, will virtual reality replace television? They're both mediums are going to exist, perhaps in perpetuity. However, in 4 years, we went from 0 to 200 million or 98 million headsets, okay? And it's just growing, and that was in 4 years. So imagine 4 years out, 4 years out, 4 years out, right? Imagine the wealth of content that's gonna come to these platforms, right? Not just, it's like the iPhone, yeah, you only have the calculator app and the note app, but now you have all this stuff, you know, and you have all these digital apps, and guess what? A lot of these digital apps like Facebook and stuff, Facebook is looking to integrate their Facebook into the headset, into this platform, into this medium, so it's not going to take as long as it took to build the iPhone up, right? The App Store on the iPhone. No, it's going to take much shorter, condensed period of time, and we're going to see tons of apps fill the platform. So over the next 4, 5, 10 years, virtual reality is going to become significantly prominent, right? That's going to be like the phase of TV where everyone had a TV in their house and they had a couple channels on it that they like to watch, right? So yeah, right now, buy it. If you don't like to play games, because games right now are like the biggest category of options of stuff you could do in VR. If you don't like games and you buy your headset, yeah, you'll be entertained for a couple days, maybe a week, and then it'll sit on your shelves because there's not enough content yet. But if you have if we're projecting out as more stuff comes to the medium, as more apps are developed, as this stuff happens, and if you like to play games, definitely get a headset. I mean, like, there's so many games, it'll keep you busy forever and ever and ever, and you're gonna love it, right? If you don't like games, you might want to hold off for a bit, right? Like people say, is it the right time to buy a headset? You know, should I buy a headset yet? Should I buy a virtual reality headset? That is for you to decide. But right now, if you don't like games, maybe not so much yet, but 2, 3, 4 years out, it's going to be a different story, right? So we're talking over the next 4 8, 10 years, we're going to see a huge upswing in virtual reality, and it's going to be with added content on the medium, right? Facebook's going to keep lowering the price of theirs because they just want people to get it and spend money on their apps and stuff. So ultimately, what we have is a world where virtual reality like this is going to exist. And then if you want to project further out, that's where augmented reality comes into play. I mean, people say, will virtual reality replace reality? Right? That's a big one. Will virtual reality replace reality? Right? Virtual reality like Ready Player One. Will that become an actual reality? And the truth is, it will. It will for sure, but just, it's going to take time. The thing, and it's probably not going to look the way it did in these TV shows, right? It's going to be a little different, but at the end of the day, FaceTiming was invented in books, in literature, in TV shows. Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century, was FaceTiming her aunt from the space station to planet Earth, right? These technologies exist in the cultural psyche for a while before they manifest, right? But ultimately, they always manifest, right? And it's just about sitting there and waiting for the time for the sand, to fall to when it's the time for the technology to arise. So what's going to happen, and this is something that Ken Perlin talks about, who's like he's like one of the biggest VR visionaries of our time. He's a professor at NYU and was referenced in like an Oculus keynote or something like that. What he says is that one day everyone distinguished what's the difference between virtual reality and augmented reality. One day it's going to be one thing, because if you are augmenting part of your world, you're putting something up on the wall here, or putting something in front of you here, and then something on the floor and above you, and eventually you augment the entire space. You don't see anything real anymore, you're just seeing virtual, right? If you just fill it all up with pixels, like literally you're just in complete virtual reality. Augmented reality allows us to augment parts of the world, right? And if augmented reality gets to that point of optimal, true augmented reality, what it needs to be, we're going to be able to just augment until you can't augment anymore and you're just in virtual reality, right? So the goal is that these two technologies are going to coalesce into one device. And companies like Magic Leap have raised millions of dollars to manifest this, right? And they're not there yet. They're very far away from that dream goal, but they are on the cutting edge, and they're taking the next steps to get us there, right? But it's going to be a while before, it'll probably, this is going to take off as a consumer device well before AR is even in the picture. So people are going to be able to wear this headset and have so many different channels and stuff to watch inside this thing that is like an experience. If you haven't tried it, you have to try it. The experience of virtual reality is magical. It is like 1,000,000 times more engaging and crazy than typical watching a regular TV or than watching regular TV. So basically, will virtual reality replace television? It will, but it's going to take time. And eventually, in enough time, if we wait long enough, virtual reality and augmented reality will become one device. And at the end of the day, right now, this Oculus headset is probably the best one to buy. But, it's like TVs. There are billions of TVs out there, right? And there's Samsung, Sony, right? All these TVs, and you buy the one you want, and they're all pretty comparable. Every month, one is a little bit better than the next one. You buy whatever the best model is at the time or whatever, right? VR is the same thing. So right now, it's this Oculus headset, and down the line, HTC Vive, they used to be the best. I loved Vive, and they've got products coming out. I'm excited to see what they come up with, right? Each one of these products is going to come out. It's going to be slightly better than the next, and they're going to compete, right? Right now, Facebook is first to market. They're pushing all this money into it, lowering the price of it for consumers, right? So they are, right now, it's the headset to buy. But over time, these companies, there's going to be other options out there, and like Facebook makes you tie your Facebook account to the headset. This is something everybody has a problem with, right? Including me. I mean, I don't like that I have to tie my Facebook account to the headset. And what's going to happen is if Facebook doesn't change that, all these competitors are going to produce comparable products at comparable price points and not make you tie your Facebook account to it. And you know what? Those are going to be the headsets that survive and that become more prominent in these households, right? Than the one where you have to tie your Facebook account to. So right now, Facebook can hold it with an iron fist and say you have to do that because they have the best product and there really is no competition yet right now, you know? So Facebook can clamp it down with an iron fist and say you have to use your Facebook account. But eventually, they'll have to change that or else there's going to be other options for us to choose from. And so at the end of the day, this question of will virtual reality replace television? It will. It'll just take time. And eventually it's going to be virtual and augmented reality is just one future reality. And that's going to be the reality where we all have, you know, this headset. It's granted it's not like the big TV, but it's a little cumbersome. You could wear it for an hour or more or whatever. It's comfortable. It does the trick. And if there's engaging content, you'll want to happily put it on and engage. But eventually, it's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller and more lightweight. Maybe it'll just be a contact you put in or a pair of clean glasses, right? That's the future. That's where we're headed. We're only like a couple years out. I mean, like in the grand scheme of things, we're like probably 7 to 10 years, right? Maybe like 3 to 5 years before like the technology is really readily available to these companies, and then like 7 to 10 years when people are actually able to buy and engage with it, and then we need culture to take over and manifest the whole digital ecosystem where people have enough content to engage with all day long and stuff. And so that's the growth in the process. And then meanwhile, television is going to keep going on. You're still going to have your TV in your house. You know, while this is a VR headset, this is no replacement for an actual TV screen. You need to have it, right? But this is a replacement to, or it's just in addition to. That's what it comes down to. And the question is, how often are you engaging with this as opposed to TV? And if you want to talk about how will virtual reality steal people away from the TV screen, right? And at what rate are we going to pull people away from TV screens and into virtual reality? You could look at that and try to project, but it's so early because eventually the product will come out that people will be able to have all day long. And so they're going to be in VR even when they wouldn't be watching TV because they're carrying it with them on the subway or to the plane, on the airplane or wherever. So it's more like the phone, right? One day a VR device will just replace the smartphone because it's going to have all the same apps, all the same functionality. You're just going to be seeing it all out here. It's going to be easier to integrate with life and use, right? It won't be as distracting as having to like look at a screen. You're not going to be limited to this anymore, right? So it's all going to be out here, and it's going to replace that flat touchscreen device that we have, right? And we're going to be talking to our grandkids saying like, remember we used to have these iPhones back then, right? So ultimately, that's the question, you know, will virtual reality replace television? It will, but it'll just take some time. But I have all the time to watch this happen, right? And be there for it, right? And be on the pulse of it, right? That's the important thing, is that you're tracking it, that you're seeing how do we do this year versus last year? How are we going to do in the next 3 years versus the year before, right? And with virtual reality, we've already seen in a tiny fraction of time how it's grown significantly. And it's only going to keep going. And if you can influence it, even better. But virtual reality is definitely going to it's not going to replace, but it'll be in addition to, and how big of a prominence it takes up over TV, that's just going to inflate over time. And I don't see it stopping. It's just going to inflate until it is so prominent that it's another medium, like books, TV, whatever. We're going to have virtual reality too. Right? Virtual and augmented reality, eventually a future reality, right? That's going to be in people's lives. So yeah, I hope that answered your question of will virtual reality replace television. Thanks for watching. I'm Mike Sadowitz. Come back to the next one, and we're going to talk about a lot more stuff later.